Alrighty, hey everybody, doing just the typical Facebook Live here on my computer, and we'll wait for a few folks to come by. I don't like waiting too long, so maybe 30 seconds here. We'll get started in just a little bit here. So about 11:29, we'll get this puppy rolling. So hope you're having an awesome day. I'm headed out to across the state here to drop my daughter off for Grandma and Papa for a week in the summer here, and also visiting my sister, who has flown in from California, celebrating a birthday today. I believe she turns 40, I think. Oh, I could be wrong. Could be older, could be younger, not sure. So I'm going to have to find out. Thomas, always good to have you on, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. So we'll get going here right now, so we get started. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about this that just really hit me with a ton of bricks here. Darren Hardy is just a awesome leader when it comes to success. And I usually subscribe to his email list here, and he comes out with a new video and some information that's always helpful. And for the first time, he really just kind of opened himself up raw and told his story when he was growing up as a kid, how his mother abandoned him and completely left the house. She was gone, didn't even want him, wasn't even happy she was born. And his father was a college football coach that didn't know how to raise him up right at all. In his whole life was a regiment. I mean, he was raised as if he was as if he was a player on the team, and didn't have those skills. And he really walked through, and he really got in depth about his story and all the sore points of it. One of the things that has helped me here when it comes to Branding University, and Mark Lalone, who is the instructor of Branding University, he does an online course, is that he really focuses in on your story, about just really opening up about the trials that you've gone through, and also the disappointments that you have gone through, whether that's a health issue, whether that's a financial issue, or whether that's a family issue, and really just kind of putting it out there for people, and then showing folks where you've come from that point in your success story, where you are at right now, what you have gone through. And that in the age of social media, that's one of the most important things out there. What I'll do, I'll probably do this a little bit later. If anybody wants, to check out the webinar that we have here Sunday from Branding University, I can give that here to you. Just give me a request or shout me out. It's coming up Sunday at 2 p.m. But I don't want to get too off track with that. But my main focus here was your past adversities are your greatest advantage. Stuart Predel, appreciate you joining me here today. So Karen Morgan, thanks for swinging by. Thank you so much for joining the Facebook Live here today. So that's what it means. The past adversities are your greatest advantage. One of the things that Darren Hardy said is that through that struggle, through that lifestyle that he lived, he became a very driven person, and he used that drive to succeed. His father was a very success-oriented, goal-oriented, pushing person, and it was a dysfunctional situation that he described, but at the same time, he gleaned from that something significant here. I think with me, just kind of looking at my life, I think the sense that I have is that, growing up in a strong, loving home, I was always reliant growing up in high school and college on my father and my mother to, always say, hey, can I have some money for this, or going to college and always, asking for this and asking for that. And being in a situation where you have a fear of being an independent person, and going out here and doing it yourself, almost feeling like you need permission from somebody, permission from a family member, permission from a spouse. Robert Rico, thank you so much to do something. And whether that permission is necessary or not, it's always on a subconscious level that you need permission. And that's something that's always gnawed at me. It's just like, when are you going to grant yourself permission to succeed? I've heard that many times before. A lot of times people, when it comes to success, when it comes to building wealth, they're scared. And part of that fear is because their comfort zone is so familiar with them, and the times that they've been out of it, or they've been in a dependent situation before, that they haven't left that. Josh Moore, thank you so much for coming by. The times that they haven't left that comfort zone and wanting to venture out and do something different and take a chance, it holds them back. And a lot of it is, many times it is upbringing, in a sense. So when I say that that's an adversity of mine, it truly is. I mean, I think at times in my life, and it kind of spills out here, I need, on a subconscious level, I need permission, from my spouse or my family or for myself personally to do this, to go out and venture something new, something different, something that's going to take me to the next level. And it's just something that's holding me back. And you're always thinking about it. And you might do it, you might not do it. And Keith Greiner, appreciate you stopping by. So with that, I think, when I look at that as an adversity or something that I've had to deal with myself, is that I look at that, and that just really, I realize and I recognize what it's for. And it's almost like an instinctual thing. I'm able to recognize that better than most people, because I've experienced that, and it's almost like there's something in the pit of my stomach telling me, no, that's not the path to go to. That's the comfort zone. That's where you're going to get the least resistance. If you want to be successful, if you want to make money, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be out of your sphere of comfort, and you have to be in an uncomfortable situation where you run into challenges, you run into things that are cleverly disguised as impossible situations. Those right there are opportunities. Everybody's always talking about, wanting an opportunity. What's the opportunity? And a lot of times they think in their mind that an opportunity is some wondrous thing with bells and whistles, where, the opportunity is a big treasure chest. You open it up and it's full of gold. But the truth is that maybe that treasure chest you open up is full of obstacles, and is full of challenges. And it's a matter of digging through those challenges and digging through and overcoming those obstacles, to figuring out, where you need to go in that path, and what the next step is. So that's, for me, like I said, again, when it comes to past adversities, that's something that I recognize, and that's something that has been a fuel for me. And I just kind of look at my, over my life here. My life's gone on an interesting path here, because when I left college, I thought, I needed a master's in business administration. I need to do what you do when you leave college and get a job and try to, figure out this corporate thing and whatever. And there was just something burning inside me. This is the mentality that I had, that, why do I need to be doing this? And my passion was radio. My passion was hearing people that I listened to as a kid growing up in New England, WBZ Boston, Dave Maynard and Larry Glick, and some legendary people in the Boston market that I would hear as a kid growing up, listen to on the radio, which was talk at the time, which talk was completely different in the early 80s and late 70s. After college, it's never as easy as you think it's going to be. No, it is not. Oh my goodness, it is not. So, you have that mentality. And then I said, you know what, my gut told me at that point in time, I need to venture out. I need to get out of my comfort zone. Okay. I mean, if I'm trying to figure out this corporate thing, I'm going to continue to get fired. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to put my passion behind it. So I got into radio, and that's kind of been where I've been here for the last 20 years. And now I think when I first joined, I had dreams of being a major market personality and having this big, huge morning show and being and if I really, and I found out something about myself, is that if I really, really wanted that, I could do that, but I would have to constantly move. And I don't think personally, I don't think that was me. I was a person that was going to be continually moving, continually going on to the next market, or go through a process of going, meeting up with special program directors that were skilled in doing this. And I think the nature of radio, it's so slim, as far as really being that success person to go to that major market, so to speak, because people are getting fired left and right in major markets. because of the nature of radio. But, you know, the other part of me too was this independence in my belly that I've always had, that I wanted to be my own person. I wanted to call my own shots. And that's where I really had this desire to just, reach out on my own, build my own business, make that happen, and continue to figure things out. And so I always know that's the case. And the radio job I'm at, I think I'm pretty happy here, and I think I'm going to stay here for a long time. And if it ever gets to the point where my business, which I believe it's going to happen eventually, is going to outgrow everything, then that's going to be a different situation. I'm going to have to weigh, where do I go from here? Do I fully, delve into what I'm doing online, or is that something that I'm going to need to, just figure out where the radio, the commercial radio career, what place does it have? I mean, for me, it seems like it's a good place right now. It's a complimentary place. It's a helpful place. Plus, with doing radio and all the moving, it makes it difficult on your spouse. Oh, yes, it does, Thomas. That's the deal. That's the clincher. And I think what changed for me in radio is being single. You have these dreams of, being the top dog. When you get married, I think, that changes. That really does change, and you really have. But the other part of it too here, and this is something that's constant in radio, is there's always somebody telling you what to do. There's always somebody looking over your shoulder, and the more they pay you, the more they're going to look over your shoulder. The more they're going to micromanage you, regardless if you know what you're doing or not, or that what they think you should be doing or not. And I think with radio, getting off a little bit of a topic, is that I think there's fewer and fewer people that know what they're doing to be successful. And there's lots of people that have no clue what they're doing. And that goes for management too. I think that goes for programming. I'm not speaking for any specific station I've been at. I'm just thinking as an industry overall. So there's a lot of headaches that go with it. And for me, I think just the whole idea of moving up to a major market, I'm done with that. I chased that dream when I was single. I got married. I had kids. I enjoyed coming home with my kids, seeing them grow up, being a part of a community. I mean, I love where I'm living right now. I hope I never move. And if you told me that 15 years ago, I would have never signed on to that. I would say, no way, that's crazy. I'm not that person, but I am that person now. But I think my dreams and my goals have changed, and that's where I'm at. But like I said, again, it's just that one adversity with me is just that sense of being comfortable, being static in one place, and not wanting to move, and the fear of the unknown, and it just kind of gnaws at me. So, and that right there has just actually been has been motivated me to really launch out and become something bigger and become a better person. Now, it's great when it comes to narrating audiobooks, because I've done quite a few of them. And a couple of the books that I've done, and anybody that's narrated any audiobooks, you get this sense here too, is that if it's a really good book, you actually really get into it and you actually learn something from it. If it's one of these personal development success type books, which are, there's quite a few of those out there for sure. You can run into some really good ones. One guy that came out was called Knuckle Dragging Sales. Too many bosses in radio as well as other businesses. They each have an idea of what you are doing right or wrong, and oftentimes they conflict. Yep. And I hated that. I hated being in the PD's office for an air check session. You always felt like you couldn't be yourself, and it seemed like a situation where they're looking for more mistakes than and that's what they were there for. And I'm like, forget that. Worst thing ever happened to me was some guy that owned the radio station, little mom and pa, that thought some 20-year-old kid who had zero experience was going to be my PD and tell me what to do in air check sessions. I put a stop to that. I said, you can fire me now. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to listen to somebody who's clueless. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's a matter of having the experience, and then realizing that, I'm not going to have some guy who has zero experience and has zero credibility. Ted Tuzakis, good to have you on here, man. Haven't talked to you in 1,000 years. So hope things are going well. So your past adversities are your greatest advantage. So getting back to some audiobooks. One audiobook I read and I narrated was called Knuckle Dragging Sales. And one of the things that he talked about, and it wasn't a sales book about here's some scripts and here's what to say and here's how to convince somebody. One of the things he said when it came to retail sales, when it came to the sales, the type of sales that he's been involved in, which was mostly pharmaceutical sales, he said it is 100% about drive and how bad you want it, and also what you're going to do to get it and succeed and continue to deal with all the rejection and go out there and pound the pavement and to get what you want. And he was talking about motivation, and he talked about how he went through a situation where he got very sick, and at the point of death, he was in the hospital, and his health was in a real bad situation. He was dealing with cancer at the same time too, and he talked about overcoming that and pushing forward and pushing on and going through that process. And I think anybody that has ever fought cancer, that has been in that situation, actually comes to a crossroads in their life where they're going to give up or they're going to push on. There's no in between. There's no middle ground at all. It's all for nothing, and I'm going to beat this thing with all my being, with all my might. I don't even know the guy's name, but this guy is one of the top leading successful network marketers in the country, and he has a form of cancer where they told him that they literally said, you've got 2 or 3 weeks left to live, and he said, screw that. I'm going to keep fighting on. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to get care and the medicine. He's in bad shape right now. But he kept fighting, and every time a doctor says him, you got like a month or two to live, he'd have 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years. And so it was almost like this mental, emotional mindset that has just driven him to continue to push on. And it's almost that same drive that this guy was talking about that you need in sales. You need that special drive. So you look at those types of adversities of what people have gone through. They know what it takes, the time, the attention, the mindset, the mental attitude, the perseverance to beat cancer, to keep pushing on, to not stop with all your will, with all your might. And if you approach it that way with your online business, with what you're doing, you are going to succeed in a major way, because you have gone through that before, and you know what it takes to succeed in the area of your life, to save your life, to continue in good health, and to overcome this barrier. So with that said, you look at somebody like that when it comes to past adversities and what they had to go through in order to overcome it, and what mindset they needed to overcome it, and all the different struggles they've dealt with all the different treatments that they've gone through. So that plays like this huge role in their lives, and that's the type of drive that's necessary to continue on and to continue to fight. And so those past adversities, as Darren Hardy mentioned it, like I was talking originally about this was a Darren Hardy podcast where he says your past adversities are your greatest advantages. Those adversities are almost like a muscle, okay? When adversity strikes, you have to work that muscle, and it's sore at times, okay? And the muscle's broken down and it's painful. But you're able to overcome that. You go work out in the gym, that muscle grows and it becomes stronger, and then it turns into something. And the health is a major factor in influence your attitude. Yes, it is, Thomas. Absolutely. I'm going to share something here that has been something here for me that's been really a struggle for a long time. I'm type 2 diabetic. I've struggled with weight, and I just let things go. And I said, this is it. I've got to stop this. I've got to find a path. And it's funny because I stumbled across one of the audiobooks that I'm reading, and it's keto. Okay. It's the keto diet. So I've just fully immersed myself in this because I'm reading it anyway. And it wasn't one of these things, I'll give it a try. No, it's just like, I need to be serious about this. I need to eat correctly. So I've been doing it. I've been doing it so far with what the knowledge that I have. And it was just like last night, after this 2-week process where it seems like I'm doing all these things that I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't see the results necessarily, but I'm pushing forward. I'm not eating any low carb diet. I'm not going off the reservation. I'm trying to stick with this. Then all of a sudden I take my blood sugar one night, boom, it's at 107, which is just huge. If you're a diabetic and your blood sugar's been in the 200s before, or 250 or 300 even. And all of a sudden it's just like, wow. And I, looking back, I thought to myself, in my head, I thought this is going to be this big, huge, impossible task in order to get on this program to make that happen, to be more healthier. And now that I'm looking back, it's funny because it's one of the things that it's really helped me out a lot. I'm eating the correct foods. Now I need to find out, how many calories, I need to eat with these. And the great thing is I'm not hungry at all. So I found something, because in the past I've done Weight Watchers, and I tell you the truth, maybe people love Weight Watchers, but I'll tell you what, I starved the entire time. I starved for like 6 months to a year on that thing, just dying. But I did it to lose weight. But it's just like, oh gosh. So that's actually been super helpful here for me. But that's one of the things too. What Thomas just said, health is a major factor and influence your attitude. It does. And one of the things that I've seen is that, being on this new program, is that you're sleeping better and you're dreaming more. Okay. And that's like, and then that just kind of changes your whole attitude during the day, gives you more energy, more focus, and you're able to, and that comes with success. And the other thing is too, is that, when it comes to building a business, that is a discipline. You have to have a disciplined schedule and a disciplined path each and every time, and you have to have your goals before you. What's the next step? Where are you going next after this? And you do have to take it to the next step. And so, being disciplined in that area of your life, you have to be disciplined in other areas of your life, and the big part of it is health, and that plays a huge factor. And one of the most successful people that you see are super healthy people too. Okay. And that's a major component of them, because they've been able to master that discipline. If they're able to master the health part, they're going to be able to master other areas of their life, including their business, including their success plans. So that I thought that was pretty helpful. So I think that wraps it up here for me. I'm going to get going here. I've got a couple things I got to do here before I leave town here to celebrate my sister's birthday, and also spend some time with the grandparents here with the kids. I'm going to drop Emma off, who's 10 years old, for about a week. She always has fun up there, goes swimming, goes plays with her cousins and all that other good stuff. So, all right, guys, have yourself an awesome day, and I hope this helps, and we'll catch you next time.